it.
Well, I
Yes,
realize
so
that.
I left the
special.
trinket next to me.
That's Casper.
Vacant position.
Oh,
Casper.
all
All righty.
figured this way, John.
I would like to call the meeting to order. This is the Litchfield Budget Committee. It is January 11th. It's 9:30. We are now convening after the end of the town hearing, the school hearing, and the fire station bond hearing. Basically, just jumping right into unfinished business, and the first thing that pops up, because it's Article 4 on the town that we have not had any action on, is the fire station bond. I think what we heard tonight was some action on questions and concerns that the Budget Committee had on Tuesday night when they had their presentation, so there was some additional detail and explanation tonight at the public hearing. So, where do we want to go from here? We need to determine whether to recommend this or not.
I mean, we have to make a vote, right?
We have to vote. We have to vote.
I'll make a motion to approve Article
For fire station bond.
4, Fire Station Bond.
Second.
Okay, you do it.
Second.
Okay.
Name on that one.
Discussion.
Just very quickly, just what I said up there, you guys can go do your own research. Farmington's part, they built an absolute beautiful facility, 19,000 square feet, police and fire all on one part, enough bays to do everything they needed to do for about $3 million. Bow is in the process, $4.9 million. They actually even, I thought was kind of cool, they sold some of the lumber when they were clearing their property, $3,000 to help pay. You look at it, the only one that I thought was ridiculous was in Scarborough, Maine, and they're building like a Taj Mahal for about $19 million. And if that's comparable, the PD that I work at with the brand new by itself was about $19 million. I just think the price tag for that is just too high in this thing. I think you can get contractors in. I don't know the process, and I'm not going to step on what the selectmen did. I believe there's a definite need. But if they want this to pass, then they're going to have to dwindle that thing way back. And I think the other issue at hand is that we're going to need a PD in a couple years, feasibility statements and those type of things. We're already looking to hire another police officer. That agency continues on getting bigger. We're not adding any more full-time firefighters. I mean, if you think of it, folks, we're building a $5.5 million facility for 2 full-time employees, if you want to put that down. And to me, that, and I understand it's a call fireman, that type of thing, but I have a hard time, especially when there's other people, towns like Bow, that seem to build things big and they seem to get it right. I just think in this day and age, we can do a little bit better. I heard it in one of the selectmen's early in the thing, just kind of the rush. Why are we in a rush? Let's just do it right. So I will obviously be voting no as currently stated. So that's it.
So one correction I want to make is we have 38 employees. So we have 2 full-time, but we have 38
Correct.
firefighter employees.
Yes, we have 38 call firemen, but I think even the chief explained, where do they come from? They come from home.
Yes.
usually to the call.
Yes.
And I know they pick up the equipment on the way.
Right, we
I
have
get
to house
that.
the equipment.
Yeah.
I get that. I understand that. But again, I think that comes down to, that's certainly not my part. The fact is we can build just as nice as builder for less money. And anybody in this room or anybody that says they can't, I'm sorry, but no is just maybe till tomorrow. I just don't think the due diligence was done. I think we have people that are in there that have been part of the project for so long and we're sticking with them, and that's fine. But the aspect is we either have to build a much smaller building that will probably be grown out of sooner than later, or we can look at, what's this thing of putting it and taking the time to go look at these facilities. That's, to me, it's a no-brainer.
So one of the things that came up this past Tuesday was about the costs. We didn't have the breakout, so we didn't have any way to really question what those costs was. We have since received a breakdown of costs. And one of the things that was said Tuesday that was also repeated here when asked to compare to other projects is one of the biggest things that impacts the cost of the project is site work, because site work varies on every single project. As I look at this breakout here, our site work is $750,000. $750,000. So I would be curious to see, if you lop off 750,000 on the 4.789 million, I would wonder how that compares to those other buildings, if you also lop off their site work.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
Their site work is
$750,000 is not something that we have control over. The site is the site is the site.
Well,
but the
I
same
would,
for any project, right? If
I-
we don't know if they had to
But-
blast ledge or bring
But
in.
exactly, but that's the issue. You can have a perfectly flat sandy piece of land that you don't have to do a lot to, or you can have retaining pits they were talking about, and you can have some of those other issues that they said that were unique to our Litchfield property. So $750,000 to me is a big piece that may not have any variability, and I don't know what those other properties look like, because if you lop off $750,000, that brings this down in line with what some of those other two-year-old proposals are. So I think we need more information.
Yeah, and I think, but again, those facilities that I'm talking about are public safety, they're police and fire, not just fire. So that's the issue at hand. And again, we're talking, you're talking the psych work, you know, Bo had to obviously go in, and they obviously were smart, and they said, hey, we have this good lumber, they had to do site work, I'm sure they had to dig, and I understand, maybe that's how they offset it, and I'm not an engineer, I don't know
Well,
about pits and digging and all those other things, but.
So the town, and any project that involves any of our forests, we always lumber it, and we do take that income, and we'll probably do the same thing there, I would assume. It's not been said, but I would assume
Yeah.
that's the case. I think the 2008 project was interesting too, because the site work estimates on that were $180,000, grossly underestimated. Never mind, the project estimates didn't include a lot of things that should have been in that building that weren't in that building, because it was an assumption of, we'll just move what we have and we'll get it over there, even though it wasn't the right sizing for the building of that size. I mean, I can appreciate, the Bow project was a $5 million bond, and I know it's a public safety building,
Yeah,
right?
they built it for 4.3 then. That was the final.
Yeah, I mean,
That's really good.
yeah, and I think we have a 5.5 million bond, that's the max level hit, and we hope it's gonna come in well into that, especially when we start bidding it out in the spring, if this was to pass.
So one of my concerns is the wild variability in the total project cost, because if you do a 15-year, the low-end one, it costs you a little more every month, costs you 1.2 in interest. You take the 30-year, it could cost you 3.77 in interest. Without knowing which way we're going, there's no way I can support it, because I don't know what the total cost is going to be. I don't know what the potential impact is. I don't know. And so, if nobody's going to here is going to be surprised, I'm not going to want to spend any more money than necessary. When I see the fact that, that's difference of $2.5 million, that's more than half of what's needed to do the school upgrades. So why would I spend that money on interest when I can actually use that money for something else? And I don't have a commitment either way, which way the town's going to go. And then, we brought it up on Tuesday, what they're going to do with the existing building, and I understand you're not meeting again, but we've been talking for over 10 years. And in over 10 years, there's no plan of what we're going to do with the building we're not going to use anymore. So I understand that you're not going to have a decision in 3 days, but this has been going on for 10 to 15 years. How is there no plan? So without that, there's no way. No, I'm sorry. So it's not a complete package.
Just to address the funding part, I think I mentioned it on Tuesday, when the board saw the bond plan, we had two camps. Stretch it out, lower the tax impact over a longer period, or get it out of the way out of the front. I think we were hoping to hear from the residents to say, get it out of the way out of the front, or stretch it out because we want our tax impact to be less.
Well, if we're going by vocal, I'll be very loud in what I say. Minimize the total cost.
But it's true, though, that we don't know what the tax impact will be next year. Like this year, it's a $0
Yeah.
impact,
Right.
but next year, we still don't know what that number is.
It'll be whatever the final cost of the project comes out, yeah.
So I initially heard the proposal and I had complete sticker shock. And then I came here on Tuesday and I heard very compelling argument as to why to do it. And I walked in tonight really kind of supporting doing this with the idea that the costs weren't going to go down anytime soon. And now tonight, I heard a lot of things that had me very concerned. And so here I am, an informed Budget Committee member, and I am all across the board as to how I feel about this project. And I can't imagine how the community feels. I feel like the town needs to take more time. I recognize that costs aren't going to go down, but they're not going to go up that much in the next year. And I think we need more community input. We need more data. I don't subscribe to the argument that the construction manager made that you can't compare towns. We're all comparing towns. Every single one of us did.
Industry standard.
Yeah,
when you
but
look
every
at it.
single one of us did Google searches and saw different things. The one thing I know for certain is we need a new fire station. I agree with that 1,000%. The price tag is very concerning. I don't feel like we have enough information, and I worry putting this in front of the voters will cause more ill will, and then when you come back at it with a more reasonable price tag, that it might not pass when that's really what's needed. Does that make sense?
I mean, what I struggle with is all in, it's $430 a square foot.
That's,
Hudson's building 7,500 square feet right on Lowell Road at $346. I don't think that's a great price per square foot by any stretch, but it's $100 cheaper than what we're looking at.
Yeah, but,
and
I mean,
Farmington did it for $270.
yeah, but, I mean, that's final cost. This
That's-
is an
that's-
estimate for the high.
It is,
This is the most we could pay for it.
And
Yeah, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, $430 a square foot after I did the comparisons is high.
That's all I have. Nobody will give,
That's
he
also
said he's
the-
not gonna give a number because he doesn't wanna
He
spoil
emailed
the
it.
bid.
He emailed
No,
out the same
he
time.
doesn't wanna spoil the bid, and okay,
Right.
I
But he
get
gave you-
it.
But he gave you the estimates of all the breakdowns.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
the
so I'm-
standard breakdown.
I'm curious though, for those bonds, what were those bonds before the construction started?
So Hudson's was 2.9.
But even
That was a
still,
bond?
That was what the voters voted on, was 2.9.
Okay, and
You
then
don't
what was the
bond
final
until you
number?
actually get your cost, 2.6.
but there's questions in the design though, too.
That's why, right.
But what I'll tell you is, the 2.6 wasn't the low bidder. They went with someone who was not the low bidder. They didn't reveal what the other bids were, and I don't know if it was
So they went with the-
$50
they went with
cheaper.
the best value.
Or $500,000 cheaper. They don't tell you.
Okay.
We talked about Bow, Farmington. The other one that's interesting is Milton, which was done by Ekman, was $2.79 million for 9,000 square feet, which is $310 a square foot.
When was that?
That
This
just
one
opened.
This
That's a
right,
pretty,
yeah.
It's within a year.
I also want to take in the fact, and great question by Jen, but you have someone on the slide, Kurt basically said, and that analogy was perfect. Like, you go in and you're told, hey, this truck's 30 grand, this 30 grand, you go sit down, well, that truck's 55,000 now. Well, what do you mean? And
Well, I don't-
all the way into that part, and again, I'm not going to get behind, I have to just say that this just seems to be a rush. This is, I think, we're here to do right by the town. We're here to do the project right. We're here to get the best value. We're here to get our fire department up to code and get them a safe place to work. And I think that can be done with the taxpayers and the fire department both getting what they need. And I can't justify that number. I'm sorry. And regardless of my big crayons and my little crayons, nothing's making this work, John. And I appreciate all the hard work. I just don't know, to me, I understand that this time schedule, we just put money into that to keep, the septic system going, all that stuff. I get it. I know they don't just build them in a day. But there just seems to be a rush, and it doesn't need to be happening. And I think, as a board, I think we should think of that as we're always looking out for the taxpayers. We'll lop off $100 out of the tax office for paper, right? and now we're talking about $5.5 million for those folks that, isn't going to be paid off. I'm going to be long gone, retired and wherever I'm going to be. Won't even pay the last part of it. I just, to me, think it needs to halt the brakes. Let's come together and do it right this time, or at this time, so.
I mean, to delay, their escalation for 1 year is $94,000.
To me,
I'm
that's
not-
the,
I'm
no, but I
saying
think
that's a good number.
I think it's a great number, because you know what? Maybe they're not the only game in town. That's my thing. I have a weird, call it my sixth sense, but when my hair on the back of my neck goes up, usually insurance companies lose money. So I'm getting that feeling that something just, and again, not to be able to rattle off square footage for me, I'm sorry, but, good old Frank come in, and I can tell you, I bet when he did his job, he was able to rattle off square footage, down to the, knowing him, down to the penny 0.3. So I have to take that into effect too. So I just think it's time to obviously, I don't want to push this any further.
All right, so let me, as I'm very
Yeah,
conscious of
that's
the
my-
time, but I also don't want to rush us.
Yeah.
I'm astounded between Tuesday night and tonight, 48 hours, how much more information and more detail we got. This really doesn't get put to bed until deliberative session. So there's 3 additional weeks for us to get additional information. We have to make a decision tonight. That doesn't mean on February 3rd that we have additional information that might make a difference.
It would be interesting to see, like, if the consultants came back with a list of recommendations of areas where that could be reduced, the value engineering list, where are the items? Do we really need accordion-style doors? Would it be cheaper to go to standard overhead doors? What areas?
But I think we're maybe getting too down in the weeds into the actual construction. Should we just, as a
No, but I'm
budget
saying-
committee, hold on a second, please, Carrie. As a budget committee, should we just be setting a cap on this? Is the cap, so many millions of dollars? Should we be going a different route?
We can't.
How can?
We can't?
We can't change the number.
You
And
can't
we
change
can't,
it.
So
we
it's
can't
it's 5.5
revote unless
million?
the number changes.
Right, we,
So even if we decide post-deliberative, we got more information and now we understand if that price tag didn't change, I'm pretty sure the legal opinion I've seen in the past says you can't revote unless there's a dollar
Right.
or change in the wording of the article.
right, and there was, I believe it was last year or the year before, that came into play, and so they made sure that there was a change
Right.
so that could be reconsidered. So
$1
there's a way
change.
to make sure
Yes,
that's
there is.
included. But, no, we can't change it. What we can either say is, yes, we believe this, we should be recommending this, or no, we should not, we don't feel
At
we can
5.5
recommend it.
million.
At 5.5 million. It's up to the selectmen then, either between now and deliberative, to come up with a better explanation, a different explanation, or maybe a different number. And at deliberative, they can present that information. And if we feel like we have the better information, we can change our minds, or we
Right.
can say we still
Right.
think that's not the right information.
So as a construction manager, I don't fault the construction manager for their numbers. I mean, they pull together the numbers based on what the architect and the engineer provides. So realistically, my concern is what the design committee came up with that instructed the engineers. I mean, nobody reined them in and said, hey, you guys are starting to get a little too far out there. So this is where I think the construction manager can say, okay, clearly there's concern about the numbers. We priced the plans that the architect and engineer provided. These are some recommendations we have to help you scale it back. And that's where I think you might end up having a little more support at deliberative or guidance to the Board of Selectmen in ways to cut back the number a little bit. Because, these guys build them. They know areas where the overhead doors, radiant heating, maybe reconfiguring some things. They're the experts. Use them to give us ideas on how to pull this number back. Because at 5.5 million, it's not going to pass.
And I think the town actually did a nice job of taking some of our feedback from Tuesday and then trying to incorporate it into the presentation. I think for me, one of the big sticking points is I'm actually kind of annoyed that we've asked the question twice. I asked it, and then I think it was Frank Byron asked it as well. I want to see how it compares. There's got to be a way to compare it to Farmington and to Bow, and to tell me why ours is so much more. To just say you can't compare, I mean, that just seems like a cop-out. So if we had that
The most
information,
expensive guy always says.
huh?
That's what the most expensive guy always says.
I'll
You
tell
But
can't-
I think that would answer your question, Cindy, about is the big part, the
Site work.
site work, is
Yeah.
that because we have to put up.
That
these
looks huge to me.
It does, but maybe we look at it and go, it's not the site work at all, it's this,
Yeah.
and I
Yep.
think that's, those are,
10% of the project are the doors. So, are there ways to value engineer? And like I said, yes, it's getting into the weeds, but use the expert to give those recommendations. They do it all the time. They talk to the suppliers. They talk to the contractors. Maybe switching out a light here and there to a different brand or something could save you a little bit here and there. Use them. They're the ones who are always, they've got the estimators, they've got the stuff. We gave them what we'd like to have. Now let's have them say, well, now we understand what your budget is, and this is how we can make it work for you. But at the current price, if we're voting on the current price, then let's go for it.
So we're 15 seconds past when Bob has to leave.
Well, we're good.
So again, I want to
Oh,
make sure
just
we're
keep, listen,
heard.
I just sent the text, I can be a little late, but I want everybody to be heard, so
Yeah.
please don't rush on my,
So
it's just too important.
I think you're the only one that hasn't really,
No, I have all the information I need
Okay.
to vote. Thank you.
okay. Is there any further discussion? If not, the motion is to recommend Article 4, 5.5 million fire station bond. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
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 And all those abstain. Okay, so it is not recommended, 170.
And again, it's not that we don't believe in the need, it's just we don't
Not at
think
all.
that.
There's detail missing that would make it more comfortable to accept something else.
Well, look at
And
the-
like I said, this was a great start, because now that 4 million, we can see 3/4 of that is site work, and we can see where the other breaks out. That helps immensely. But everybody knows a cheaper station that's been built. Why? Maybe they're not valid, we need to understand why it's not valid.
I think you look at a little town like Milton, and nothing ever passes in those little towns.
Well, the
They pass it.
Farmington vote was 149 to 50. I'm a little concerned that 200 people,
It's the old style voting.
I'm a little
Yeah.
concerned that 200 people
I read
sat
the
in.
minutes.
They
I saw
did,
that.
yeah, they actually had to pull in, I actually read the minutes, they had to pull in extra chairs. So, but again, but you look at a small town with and those towns have way smaller tax bases, obviously, than us. Yeah.
But they also had, like I said, they had a safety fund that was helping fund it. So the question is, was that 2.3 bond the total price, the total
Yes.
cost of the project?
And we need to understand that, because
Right.
when we were looking at school proposals, that's the exact same thing we found. Trying to compare apples to apples, you miss a lot of the details. But we don't have those details tonight to know whether we're missing something or not. All right, the only other, no, there's two others. There is the road improvements project, which is $200,000 and 22 cents on the tax rate. Unless you can come up with reductions to the operating budget, there's no way we can legally recommend this warrant article. So,
Nonetheless, I'll make a motion to approve road improvements.
Second.
alrighty, it's been
Second.
made and seconded. Further discussion?
I am going to abstain because I would love to support this, but the law tells me I can't, so.
I'm gonna vote
I'm
for
not
it,
gonna
because I
vote
like.
no.
Oh.
I'm not going to vote no, because I do support it. And when hopefully somebody asks, and I can say I do support it, but the tax cap doesn't allow me.
So, can we do that? Or I
No,
thought
because
we
I'm
got-
voting yes, 'cause I'd be
I
happy to
thought
cut
we had legal
150,000.
opinion that we had to either vote to recommend or not recommend. I didn't.
No, you can abstain.
Abstain.
And then it becomes only the people who vote, whose votes count. So if one person votes yes,
I'm voting yes, I'm letting you
and
know right now.
seven people abstain, then it goes a recommendation with a 1-0-7.
Well, then we've got more work to do, if that happens.
I'm voting yes, so if somebody better prepare to vote no. Because I would be.
I'll be voting
I'm-
no, because my bat light's turning on.
Because I
So,
would
any
definitely cut it.
further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of recommending Article 7, road improvement project, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Whatever.
All those abstained.
Aye,
Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. 2, 5, 1. So it is not
not recommended.
the recommendation fails.
Correct. It will say not recommended by a vote of 2-5.
Right, okay. Yeah, that was one of those debates many years ago.
Wasn't that many years ago.
The last
Beautification.
Make a motion to
one,
approve the petition warrant article.
Second.
made in second, further discussion?
So a question on it, the way it's worded,
Mm-hmm.
would patriotic purposes that we have in the line item could be
No.
coming in. Why not?
Objective purposes are specifically allocated for the Memorial Day Parade, or Memorial Day celebration. This, as I understand the petitioner, they want to have a funding, any individual can come to the Board of Selectmen and ask for $100 to put up flowers in a corner somewhere, or to do a cleanup drive, and that's what the purpose was. That's how I understand it.
I understand that's the purpose, but I'm saying it's kind of, the way it's written, you could look at, well, there's stuff in the existing budget that could be folded into there.
I don't know if
No.
But by the way the-
beautification.
I think they're two separate purposes.
Yeah.
Are the selectmen at all concerned that you can't expend money unless, based on the wording of the warrant article, unless it's approved? proposal from a citizen or committee? I'm just
We
asking.
haven't taken it up neither. We saw it for the first time Monday, and there was no action taken. I believe our office helped them construct the wording.
I'm just saying, I'm assuming you have that it can't be that the selectmen decide they want to put flowers.
Yeah, no.
No.
I mean-
Every other foot along Hillcrest and spend $2,300. I was just a little surprised by that wording.
Well,
but I'm
I will
okay.
say I appreciate the use of the method. I mean, I'm all for using the warrant article system. I just question whether the necessity. I mean, we have flowers that have been put up. I will, but I'm just saying, I don't want them to think I'm voting no because I don't
Trying
like
to get you
them.
out of here, I really do.
Yeah, I know,
I know.
Dennis,
But
thank you.
it's a matter of-
You're
I
a
just-
scholar and a gentleman.
Either, but thank
So,
you.
all right, so the only thing is, I think when they went, so initially it was $5,000, and then went back and they made it $2,500, and the idea behind it is so that people can also raise additional funds that can be donated
Yeah.
to it. So, my only concern at that point is once you get to a certain dollar amount, I don't know, it just makes me a little bit nervous, but the general idea I like, so.
Well, but why does it have to be a donation for them? Why can't a group of people get together and say we're going to go plant flowers?
They can.
Yeah. So, my question, and I don't know the answer, is this a way of establishing a fund so that donations can be made to this fund?
Not as I understand it. It's
It is, I think so.
That was the intent.
Then why is it not a dollar?
Well, so that's, or funded from unexpended fund balance so that it's
We
zero
already
tax
take
rate.
donations in today
Yeah.
for purposes all the time. We do it all the time.
And
The
you-
sign down the south.
You
north
you
end
hold a
town.
hearing, right, if it's
Yeah,
over?
if it's over a certain amount, yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we take the donation based on the ask. And most of
Yeah.
the time, the work's already done and someone's donating to cover the cost.
So like I said, I appreciate the use of the system. I would feel more comfortable if came forward with a specific project.
Any further discussion? Did we have a motion? Okay,
This
the motion
is-
was to recommend?
And we are right now 23,000 under the cap, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Just check the number.
I was going to use that for my roads, and you can't have it.
Okay, all those in favor of supporting the petition warrant article for $2,500 in a beautification fund signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, so that's 611, yes.
Oh, yeah, you guys don't have a position yet.
I have no position. I have my personal one, but
Yeah,
It's 511?
611.
611, there's
There's
8 of us.
Well, did you vote or not?
He abstained.
Abstained.
The Board of
Abstained.
Selectmen
Okay,
Yeah,
just
six-
making sure. I just
611.
Board of Selectmen has not given me a
Want to make
direction.
sure I heard it right.
So this is
They might take
all
away your
for the town.
special ring.
We had nothing left to do for the schools. That's all, nothing has changed. All right, any last?
To adjourn.
Second.
all
Do we
those
have
in-
signature pages?
We do have signature pages. So, again, this hasn't changed. If you feel comfortable with what we just decided with the, it has to be now because this is what's posted for deliberative. So I do have signature pages so people can sign, and if not, then sometime over the next, I forget when they have to be in, but within a few days, you're going to need to go to town hall or the school and sign, if you don't sign tonight. That's fine. So we have, this is the school district one, and this is the town.
Everybody got a pen?
Yeah, right here.
I do.
Thank you. I don't know if you really want to loan it to me.
Was there public input?
So, I think there's a motion on the table to adjourn.
We didn't offer a public input.
Oh, well, kind of, the hearing was the public input.
Oh, no, you
Yeah,
can, please.
yeah.
I'm good. All right.
He's
I
late
mean,
now
the way I
anyway.
look at it, the
Oh,
hearing was the
okay.
public input. If you didn't give any public input there, then you lost your opportunity, so. Alrighty, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. You're adjourned. Thank you, folks. February 3rd
Yes.
is our next.
Oh, I can't wait to
turn
see
get
you all